All right, cool. First, if you've never heard the story about why you see Tracy P. Holmes everywhere, I'm going to tell you. And you'll probably hear me tell this again in the future. One day, back in the before times, I was in school and someone gave me a scholarship, but I never got the scholarship money. I finally went to financial aid one day and found out that another Tracy Holmes at my school accepted the scholarship money instead. And since that day, my middle initial is everywhere. And I say that to say this: if you ever need to find me, look for Tracy P. Holmes anywhere across the board. That's GitHub, LinkedIn, email, whatever. And that's how you'll find me. So look, Jonathan, Brittany, I'm for real. Like, I was hot because books are not cheap. All right. And if I keep looking over, that's where my chat is. So apologies in advance. All right. So we're going to talk about automated deployments using Terraform. I'm Tracy P. Holmes. I am a former software engineer for Terraform providers and now a developer advocate. My boss is in the chat. Tell her, hey. I am very candid when I speak in that I am never going to say that I know something that I do not know. So the other thing that I would tell you is I absolutely hate question and answer. Your easiest bet is to link with me on LinkedIn, or you can email me at tracybholmes@hashicorp.com and I will get you answers. Okay? Okay. All right. So, what in the world is Terraform? I'm going to read from the screen. Terraform is an open source infrastructure as code software tool that provides a consistent CLI workflow to manage hundreds of cloud services. Terraform codifies cloud APIs into declarative configuration files. So basically, it's a sysadmin's best friend. It helps you to easily deploy infrastructure. If you've never used Terraform, I usually tell people like this: imagine you have a subdivision, you got to raise at work, you want to buy a brand new house. You want to move into this gated subdivision. DR Horton is making the homes. All right, so you go in and you talk to the builders. The builders say, okay, there are 3 types of homes you can decide you want for your plot. You can either get a 2-story with a small backyard. You can get a 1.5 story with a nice size backyard, or you can get a 4-bedroom, 1-story house. Each one of those house plans is a provider. So everybody knows about the big 3. I think Tam just probably used GCP. Say that's the 1-story house. AWS, that could be the 1.5-story house. Azure could be the 2-story. They're all in the same subdivision. And for Terraform, that would be they're all in the same configuration file. It's just different houses. Did that make sense? Did I get a yes? Yes, no, yes, kind of, sort of, yes. All right, thank you. All right, cool. So that's what Terraform does. And I'm not lying in saying that when I was a sysadmin, I would have loved this. However, I do not miss the fact that I could reboot a server every once in a while just for eeps and giggles. All right, so why should you care? IAC is a trendy thing right now. And it allows you to build and test infrastructure like you build and test software. For HashiCorp, for Terraform, we use something called HCL, which is basically HashiCorp configuration language. It enables reuse, so you can build scripts and development, test, and production infrastructures all using the same script. And then, like I just told you, that subdivision, that's your multi-cloud deployment. And there's more than just the big 3. You've got VMware. There's a Domino's provider. If you want to spin up Terraform and order a pizza, you can. And you can add Twitter in there and say something about the pizza on Twitter also. Uh-oh, Matt, what did I do? Okay, there you go. All right. You can say something about Twitter about the fact that you ordered a pizza from Domino's using Terraform. Tamika, stop. So what we're going to do today is, this is a very introductory way of using Terraform, and it's going to deploy to Kubernetes. So everything that I'm doing today is local. All right, so let's get out of this. And this is a diagram. It's a pretty diagram. I decided to use the one that we already had because why reinvent the wheel? All right, so let's go to my IDE. So I am a fan of Visual Studio Code. You all should already have the GitHub repo that has the files. So you should be looking at something that looks like this right about now. We're going to go through that. All right. So I'm going to do it in Visual Studio Code and just read the markdown. All right. So like I told you, Terraform uses providers to interface with various APIs and exposing resources. So the providers are usually versioned and they're included as part of that configuration file. Make it a little bigger. All right, hold on. I knew I forgot to do something. Let me zoom in. A little bit bigger. I'll do it one more time. And let's see if you all can see anything. Is that better, everybody? You're welcome, Vaughn. All right. So they use configuration files. Thank you, Terminal. That was very nice of you. So for example, what we'll be using today is Kubernetes. This will be the config path, and I have Docker Desktop. And I'll tell you why I use Docker Desktop. Before you begin, you'll need to have at least Terraform 0.14, Docker Desktop for Windows or Mac, or your own Kubernetes install, but I'll tell you why in a few seconds. And your favorite terminal or IDE. I say IDE, and I'm using it on purpose because I knew Tam would probably stay around, and since she hates IDEs and GUIs, I refuse to use the terminal for the entire thing. All right, so if you don't already have Terraform installed, you can get it from here, which is the Learn guide we have. And if you want to play around with Terraform with the different providers, even with just Docker, you can do it from here. But this will get you multiple ways to install Terraform. You can do the manual installation, Homebrew. So we now have a tap for Homebrew. I will say, if there are any of you that use Linux Brew, yeah, Vaughn, I know it's different strokes for different folks, but she gives me so much grief about it. I will say you cannot yet use Linux Brew for installing our products. I'm begging for that, so that may be coming soon. And instead of that, I'm on Ubuntu, so this is what I use. And then of course, if you want Windows, you can actually use Chocolatey for Windows. So that's how you would get Terraform installed. Then the reason that I use Docker Desktop is this. For starters, let me show you where you can get that from. This is Docker Desktop. If you do the download for Windows, it will automatically, I'll circle back around to it about what Terraform is exactly. Or Tam or somebody or Matt can say it in the chat. I use Docker Desktop for Windows specifically because it does have a Kubernetes integration. And so if you're using WSL, this is what you'll typically see. If you go into the settings, it'll let you enable Kubernetes. So that's why I use that. All right. Moving on. So we've installed Terraform. The first thing that we're going to talk about is Terraform init. Let me get my notes out of the way. So when you initialize Terraform, this is what's going to get all of your providers. So all of the providers that you have linked in the file, and it's going to create your local state. And your state is basically the thing that it talks to every time it needs to do something. So in this particular instance, we've got Terraform, we've pinned our version, and then our required provider for this is going to be Kubernetes. And so that version is 2.0. And then since I'm using Docker desktop, this is my config path, and this is pointing to Docker desktop as the context. This particular thing actually came from our registry. And the registry is what we have that hosts all of the plugins and the providers now, or at least the majority of them. There are like over 500 at this point. When I started, I think we had less than 100. Like, it's growing. And there are ways in that learn, on the learn site that I just showed you all, it will also tell you how to build a provider. So if you want to play around and build your own Pizza Hut provider, I guess, to combat the Domino's provider, that can be done. But the config for Kubernetes is actually sitting right here. So if you come to the registry, click on use provider, it will give you this drop down, and you can actually just copy and paste that into your file. So let's go back over there. If I can find it, there it is. All right, so we've done that. And now we're gonna initialize. And I told you initializing is what's going to install our provider. And I believe I deleted everything. So let's see how that's going to go. All right. So let's make sure we are in the right folder first. What is this? All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to run Terraform init. And that's what's going to kick off installing our Kubernetes provider. So let's see. And as you see, it saw that we had our version. So anything up to 2.0, it started installing it. And now it's installed. And then it'll do a lock file that's basically locking in the state. So if you've ever used Ruby, it's kind of like a gem file. Ruby's my favorite, so that's why I mentioned Ruby. All right. So if you decided, say if you decided at some point to go and modify anything in this provider file, you could run Terraform init again. If you can run Terraform init as much as you need to, and it won't break anything. It's basically refreshing the configuration. All right. So next, we will go to Terraform plan. So if you run Terraform plan, that's pretty much your dry run. It's basically saying, okay, I'm taking everything that you just said in that config file that you wanted and the stuff that I need from the provider, and we're going to plan it out, and I'm going to let you see what happens. This way you're not running something and charging money, because whenever you use this with AWS, whenever you use this with Azure, whenever you use it with GCP, as soon as you apply, which will be the next thing after planning, you start using money. Like the clock is ticking, the money is leaving your pocket, and that free credit from all of the three only goes so far. So the next thing we will do is run Terraform plan. This will also show you the difference between the current state and the run state that'll be happening. And it, like I said, it'll let you know if everything's going to work the way that it wants to. What you can do with Terraform plan is make it spit out the plan into a file. And so what you'll do is Terraform out equals nginx.tf plan. There's going to be a whole bunch of gobbledygook in here. I will say we are not known for being concise. The thing that is my absolute favorite thing that came out of 0.14 is that we now have concise diff, which means all of this, which is what I call bathroom reading for those long stints in the bathroom that we sometimes take. You could probably read a book out of all of this. You see all of this stuff that's been generated. And so this is the plan. And it's basically saying, hey, this is what's going to be created. You'll notice that some of this has known after apply. There are some things that it just won't know until you actually hit apply. But the things that it can tell you, it will. And at the bottom, what it will also do is tell you exactly how many resources, etc., that it will take, that it will use. So in this one, we're going to add 2. And also, this is what, it might not let me see it. Yeah, it's not gonna let you see it. But this is the the out that we just did. All right. So you'll also hear people talk about Terraform YOLO being an alias. There are people in the world that for some reason like to apply without planning. I don't recommend it. But hey, Terraform YOLO is the thing. So now we'll do Terraform apply. And we're going to use that plan that we had as our output so that it doesn't do anything outside of what we've already planned. This also can take a while if you decide you need to go get a new cup of tea. If you decide you want to give Tamika some grief in our Women in Linux Slack, this is the perfect time for this to happen. Or as Rico said in the chat, oh, that was just rude. All right. Did I not delete that? I did delete that. Let me see something really quick. Hold on just a second, you all. Yes, I do. Internet should not have already. I know what I did. Yeah, that was my fault. Sorry about that, you all. Trust me, this is how I am at work. All right, so let's do that again. Let's plan. And I'm just going to run Terraform apply. And if not, if it still gives me error, I'll go in and change some stuff. There we go. Now, it pretty much gave us the same two that we were going to add. So the only way that any of this will actually be created is if you actually type in yes. So that's what we're going to do. Here we go again. All right. Well, since it already creates, we'll see what happens when we go through that. The thing I didn't talk about was the Terraform graph. So something that Terraform has is it uses GraphiViz, and it will give you a picture of all of the things that will be changed after you run the Terraform plan. So let's do that because I forgot to do that. And then I will see if there are any questions. And if you all are wondering why I am not just copying and pasting the things from the command, it's so I could use up a little bit more time because I really don't like those questions. You could do auto approve. Rico, you're right. I try not to do that. And I'll tell you why. And my boss will tell you I'm very candid about, like I said, the things that I do or I don't know. Coming from engineering, we were a small group. And so a lot of engineers, and this is not the only company that does this, but a lot of times you'll find that engineers don't use the product that they build. And so when I moved to, that was one good reason. That was one of the reasons I ended up moving to developer advocacy, because I wanted to see what it was like from the practitioner side, and do stuff like this. Yes, this is live. Demos never go right whenever you're doing them. So, hey, this is live. You could take this, and as you see, it will give you the image in the directory. The other thing you can do is just run Terraform graph without outputting it anywhere. And then you can take it to GraphiViz Online and put it there. So that's what we're going to do. And I feel like Mac is giving me a look that I can't see.
No, you're dope. No, absolutely. No, I am always in awe of Tracy. So I am just here because I know you would prefer not to take questions. I will take questions.
Oh, you're so. Oh man, I owe you something now.
I owe you. I appreciate it. But keep going. I love the graph. I love this. So
yeah. So I didn't even really know about this. So what you do is take the output that it gave you in the terminal. You're going to paste it, and then it will output the exact same thing that it threw into the file. And you're basically saying, okay, this is the provider, this is the deployment, and then it's taking all the attributes or the variables and outputting them. So if you have a manager that wants to see pictures, you can give this to the manager for some pictures.
So I see like people use this, and I don't know, maybe you can tell me what you're seeing too. I see people use this when they want to have a better understanding of what their deployment architecture looks like. You know, maybe they've been deploying using Terraform for a while, and they kind of wanted to have a visual representation of it. Is that what you kind of see this for as well?
Yeah, and it's a good way to find out all of the dependencies and all of the extra crap that's in there. That was the big thing that and again, I put my foot in my mouth and said I was going to write a blog post, and then actually had to write the blog post that I put my foot in my mouth about. But it was about mono repos and multi repos. And the big thing is Terraform is great and it's fine and it's dandy. But if you're a person that's doing a personal project, a mono repo is basically putting everything in one repository, which is fine. But the bigger that gets, the harder it is to remember what got updated in this one and what plugin got updated on that one. And then all of the dependencies start stacking up. And at some point, your mono repo goes to crap. And so you have to move to a multi-repo, which is multiple repositories. But yes, you're right. This is a good way of seeing the architecture and the things that are being done, especially if you haven't looked in there in a while and don't remember what in the world is going on. All right, let me see if there are any questions.
Yeah, there's a question. So it says, this sounds similar to AWS CloudFormation. Are there any big differences?
Oh wait, Tamika's answering you, Vaughn. But yeah, a lot of people. So what I found, and this is just me, and I'll just base it off of me going to reInvent, to be completely honest, is we would have people coming up to the booth saying, I'm really trying to get my boss to use Terraform, but they don't want to do it because we're fully invested in AWS. If AWS is all you're using, CloudFormation is fine. And if you want to put all your eggs in the basket, CloudFormation is fine. But at some point, you might want to pull in VMware. Even has a provider. So if you need to use multiple providers, then that's where Terraform starts to shine. Yeah, like my boss said, it also works more with AWS.
I'll jump in here too a little bit. So like it's not a matter of when. It's not a matter of if you'll be multi-cloud. It's a matter of when it's going to happen. I'll give you like an example really quickly. Like Ford Motor Company, which I live in Detroit, they were like, hey, we're all in on Azure. But then they made a switch to AWS. And now they just actually made an announcement like a couple weeks ago that they're now all in on Google. So now they're in all the three major clouds. And they started learning when they moved from Azure to AWS that they needed to start using Terraform. But that's a perfect example. I don't think people really think about long-term about how things are going to happen. In some cases, you don't have control because now spinning up a cloud is so easy. Like there's business units that can just put a credit card in, and they'll be like, hey, I want this value-added service from AWS. And they'll go do it. So it's not a matter, again, of like, if you're going to be in a multi-cloud configuration. It's just a matter of when. Yeah. Yep. So,
Yep. I'm sorry, training and learning. Tamika said that is what I was talking about. And everything that she said to you, imagine that Tamika was your mom, but like had just met you. There's a story behind that. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not the typical presenter, if you haven't figured that out yet. I met Tamika at a conference, and she fussed at me the next week like she had been knowing me for 10 years. And I've been stuck with her ever since. But stuff like this is the stuff that I get to learn from her. And if you don't think that last night I wasn't hearing about her presentation, and in the past few nights, but it's great. It's a great learning opportunity. So, and this is free. So when we get through this, go home and try to break some stuff and see how Terraform works, because that's the best way to figure it out. Okay. Tracy, read the error codes. So the pod already existed, which is why the apply wasn't working. I knew I forgot to do something. So when you hit apply, this is what happens. And so as you see, here it is. All right. It says it's supposed to be a single one. I forgot to delete it. So we got 2 now. All right. So the other thing about Terraform is the state is usually saved locally. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, being able to have a remote bucket for your state is fairly recent. Am I right on that one, Matt? Did that come out like 0.13, 0.14 or something like that?
Having a bucket's been out for a minute, but but go ahead. Yeah, it's been out for a minute, but yes.
Okay. Even with the backup stuff? Why am I thinking of that with them?
I don't know about the backup stuff, but having a S3 bucket where you can store your state has been around for a minute.
Okay. Well, apparently I can use it as just set up my back end, and it kind of works as a backup of the state, even if I'm doing everything locally. So that's what we're about to do. So before this step, we destroyed all the previous infrastructure in the state, so we start completely new. Okay. So this backend.remote, I'm going to rename that to backend.tf, and you'll get to see what a remote one looks like. First, let me go over to Terraform Cloud. So Terraform Cloud does cost money. However,
I get what you're doing. I get what you're saying. So you talk about the back end.
Yeah, just the back end.
Just the back. Yes, the back end is fair. Yes, the back end is fairly new. Yes.
Okay. Yes. I'm like, I could have sworn that was like 0.13, 0.14, but I might be saying that wrong.
I thought you were just talking about like storing the state in S3, not necessarily using Terraform Cloud to store the state and to do some of the to store it there. So sorry.
No, you're fine. So we have something called Terraform Cloud. Terraform Cloud is usually targeted towards businesses, enterprises, that kind of thing. And you do get some perks, so it's not a bad thing. What some people don't know is, for like you and me and whomever else is in the chat, there's a free tier right in the middle. So if you're not completely comfortable with the CLI and like the terminal and stuff, they have the free tier. And so you get a workspace. So that's what I'm about to show you, because that's what we'll need to set up the remote backend. Now let's see if I can remember where I put it in this thing. No, that ain't it. That's not it. Here it is. Okay. So the first thing we need, well, I'll show you this and then I'll have to log in. So it's waiting for the configuration. This particular bit of code, again, we make things fairly easy to copy. We copy this, and you're basically going to do the exact same things as it's telling you down there, except you're going to do it in the terminal. So let me clear this so you all can actually see what I'm doing. Apologies. That same thing that I just copied is literally what this is. So you pop it in, you'd have backend.tf. Terraform login was also introduced in the past couple of releases. I can't remember exact one. I'm just waiting for us to get to 1.0, to be completely honest. So what you have to do is log in to the workspace from the command line, and that's literally Terraform login. Okay. Again, it's going to say, do you want to complete this? Just to make sure, you're going to hit yes. And what you're going to do is it's going to open up Terraform Cloud for you. Type in something like, I'll say this is with hacking with Holmes. It's going to give you an API token. Copy that token, go back to your terminal, and you're going to paste it in. And you're not going to be able to see it, but it's there. And it'll tell you, I've obtained and saved the API token, blah, blah, blah. All right. So when you do that, we've already renamed it to backend.tf. And like it told us in the workspace, you're going to run Terraform init again. And it will literally tell you, hey, I'm initializing the backend. We're reusing those provider plugins that we had. It'll automatically use it unless it changes. And you're going to terraform apply. At some point. Again, if you need to use the bathroom, you can. All right, here we go. So all of this is going to be thrown into that backend. Yes, I know it already exists. Leave me alone. All right. So we go back over, the state should be here, and if it's not, I'm gonna blame my coworker and just say it was her fault. Let's see here. Where else did I put it? So let's refresh. And it might not be in there. There it is. So that's our state. So this is a nice remote way to make sure that if you are like me and are clumsy, it's still somewhere else. It also makes it easier. I don't know if normally if it's a remote and using the workspace, it's easier for teams to collaborate. But for our purposes and our own little workspace, this is just a backup in case we hit the wrong button somewhere. And we're almost through, I promise. Let's see. The other thing that we can do is update our variables. So we have a variables.tf that, guess what it has? Variables. What we're going to do is go in here and change something and then go back through the same process. This time we'll just do terraform apply. We don't have to plan it again because we're just making the one change and we know we're making the one change. And you'll see it recreate the resources. So this time, instead of having 2, we're going to change the 2 to 3. We're going to save it and we're going to rerun everything again. Give it a few seconds or a minute or two. And then we're going to go back and you should be able to see the change that it made. Let's see. Replicas, where are you? Notice I said should. I'm using concise diff next time. There it is. 3. I should not be that happy about that. Okay. So we've done that. You saw it recreate the sources. You saw it up the number of replicas. And we've also done our oh my God, I hit the wrong button. Why in the world did I delete state backup using the workspace? You've seen your terraform init. You've seen your plan. We talked about TF YOLO because you only live once in this production. Who's going to know? Nobody's going to know. And so, like I said, if this were AWS or if this were Azure or if this were GCP, at this point, while I'm talking, money is just ticking off cents. I'm going to be broke at the end of the month. It's going to be a whole $100 or something. So what you need to remember, if you don't need something, even if you're doing it at home, especially if you're using free credits, I still use free credits when I can, so I can learn new things. You want to destroy, and destroy is literally exactly positively what it sounds like. It's going to destroy all of the infrastructure you just created. So let's go do this, and it's terraform destroy, and it's going to ask you and confirm, just like it does everything else. Hey, do you really want to destroy all this? You did so much work, and you're going to say yes. Once you do that, we should be able to go. We should notice I said should. Run control cuddle, depending on how you want to say it. Act like that ain't there. And I think the service should be gone. But I messed up something, so we're gonna act like y'all don't see that and that everything was gone. Yes. All right, so this unconventional presentation is officially over.
No, we really appreciate it, Tracy, doing this. Let's first I'll open it up for questions. So if you have questions, please drop them in. Put a Q colon in front of it for I'll know it's a question. But while we wait for questions, I have a couple of questions.
All right, what you got?
So,
I got Tamika and Melissa. Oh no, I got two people in the chat. I'm cool today. I'm just gonna throw it at them if I don't know it. What's up?
Oh no. So, like I'm assuming the use case for like using Terraform Cloud is basically the fact that, hey, I'm the one, like you start off like it's a progression, right? So it's like I'm starting off, I'm introducing the company to Terraform. So I may start using Terraform as an individual, right? Individual practitioner. And now I got to a point where I got like 10 servers out there that are built using Terraform. I tell my manager about this, and you try to explain to them, like, if my laptop dies tomorrow, I basically, this state file that's on my laptop basically is the metadata of like what's deployed in the cloud. And yeah, you could try and go backwards, but it's never like the same from what I've seen, like the original state file. So is the reason somebody like moves the Terraform cloud and use the backend provider for that purpose? Is that kind of what it's?
That's how I see it, because I'm that person you just talked about. I'm either going to nuke the laptop, drop the laptop, get a little too happy because I got pissed off at something and delete everything in the file.
I can never see that happen with you.
I'm so sweet. It's just some days. But no, like that's what it's for. Like, to be completely honest, my coworker Rosemary told me about that, because originally I was going to talk about the local state file, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this new." Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. She was like, "Oh yeah, you know, in 0.13, 0.14, they made it to where you could just use a workspace for that." But in that same instance, this is also for those people, and I've had this talk with my manager, so that's why I'm about to say it this way.
Okay.
Especially with the free tier. Not everybody is comfortable using the terminal. Like, you can do some basic commands, you know, but that's not everybody's purview. If I've been working for a company 10, 15, 20 years, and don't hogwash me, Tamika Reed, and my manager decides to come up to me and go, "Hey, so yeah, we're about to make some changes in the department. You might want to learn Terraform if you want to keep your job." Using the workspace is one of the easiest ways to learn. But two, you can also show the value of that workspace to your manager. It's got run triggers. You can do that whole use case earlier that somebody was asking about, CloudFormation. Be like, you know, hey, like you said, you know, we're using AWS now, but what if they make this change? What if it gets too expensive? What do we need to move to GCP for whatever reason? You've got the workspace there also, but you can always fall back on the CLI for those people in the company that are comfortable doing that. I'm a both. I'll do this in the terminal, but for Azure, anytime I need to make sure that something's being taken, I actually go to the Azure portal and walk through it just so I can see what all the required attributes are, and then I'll come back to the CLI. So yeah, but no, it's for the awkward and clumsy ones of us is what that remote backend is what I would use it for.
Cool. So Tara was asking, what did you paste your output in for the graphic representation? It looks like you created a file on that. Yeah, what did you use? I was interested too. I couldn't really see.
All right, hold on. Let me go back. Where is it at? I'm not still sharing, am I? Hold on. Let me go back. So you can do it two ways. You can absolutely go to, y'all finna see my file system. I don't really care. If you output it locally, you also see I use cuss words in my directory. Don't talk about me. I really do have Mosh and work.
Tamika is about to pass out. You're showing windows. I can
feel it.
I can feel it. I can feel it already.
I'm doing half of this to like make her sob.
Right.
So if you do it locally, it'll just output it in whatever directory you had it.
Okay, so it'll use the browser to display it. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, or what? However I could have just opened it in like in something I use for editing or whatever. But the thing that I did it for.
Okay.
No, go on. What were you about?
No, I was just saying it's an SVG file. So anything that supports SVG, is that what you're saying? Is that
yeah? You can basically look at it in that. What in the world happened to my board? The other thing that I had pasted it in, and I think this might be the question that was being asked, is there is something called, I know what I did. Hold on really quick. Aha, here we are. There is something called GraphiViz Online, and that's what I pasted it in earlier. Let's see here. Is it up here? Yeah. This is actually in that repo. So if you go to the repo and go to the section about the Terraform graph, it should take you to the base site, which is just the dreampuff.github.io. This person, I guess, did it this way so people could do it in the browser. And it'll give you the exact same thing. It's just in the browser. The thing about that is instead of using all of the piped flags and stuff that I had in the terminal, you can actually pick that stuff from up here. So if you don't want an SVG, you can have a JSON file, you can have a plain file, you can have a ping. So I actually do like this version better because I don't have to remember what flag and what output that I'm trying to use.
Thank you. Dwayne Francis, I love the name, had a question. Can you elaborate on why companies go to multi-cloud setup? Mac mentioned it. It's only a matter of time. So, you want me? You want to comment, or you want me to comment?
You can comment, and I can come back if I need to.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, what I was really just trying to say is that like if you're working in the IT group, you may say our direction is only AWS, for example. But unfortunately, a lot of IT groups, you don't necessarily have total control of your budget, right? So the BUs sometimes, so the business units sometimes have control. So if they come to you and say, hey, I really want to use this, I want to make something up. I really want to use the AI machine learning service in Google because we think it has a better accuracy. I don't know if any of this is true. I'm just making this up, okay? And you say no as the IT organization. They can just go put a credit card in, right? A lot of organizations allow BU, since they're the ones bringing in money, to go do whatever they want in some cases. So they'll go get a credit card, do this, and then this thing kind of blows up. The application that they build starts making money, and then all of a sudden, the IT group, you are forced to support Google. So now, what I'm trying to say is that it's better to abstract yourself, at least in my opinion, it's better to abstract yourself from being tightly coupled to a cloud environment as much as possible. And Terraform allows you to do that so that when that situation happens, you can quickly start building Terraform scripts that can actually deploy to these other cloud providers as you need it. So it's a progression thing that happens. And I've seen it multiple times in organizations. So I don't know, Tamika, if you wanted to add something.
She might have disappeared on me. It's just wrong.
No, I'm sorry, Tracy.
You're fine. I would have called out anyway.
Yep.
But no, that's pretty much it. You have to adjust and adapt. Like I said, what happened? Oh, there you are, Meek. You might have a use case also, Tamika. Yeah, and like Vaughn said, also, like, you don't know why they may choose. You might find out that AWS doesn't support what you need, or you don't like a change, or the company CEO might get mad and decide I ain't using AWS no more because they did this, that, and the other, and they switch to Azure overnight, and then all of a sudden you're using Azure, but you're gonna have to change your whole infrastructure. So like that's where like I said earlier, Terraform. I don't even like talking about Terraform half the time because everybody loves Terraform.
Mm-hmm.
But it is good at what it does. Like, I can't deny that. And it's not that I hate it. It's just that if I was in an airport and I had a HashiCorp book bag, people used to holler at me and say, "Hey, HashiCorp person," and it got old. But yeah, that's the reason that could happen. So just different use cases. You might like one thing from one thing and something from something else. You need to combine the two. You terrible. Multi-cloud there's nothing wrong with multi-cloud. If AWS went down today and all your infrastructure was on AWS, what would you do? And Tina says she thinks it's easier to learn over CloudFormation. So,
Okay. I think everybody has their own thing. So what we're waiting on right now is your boss is going to join us and kind of talk about HashiCorp a little bit, and then we'll talk about the vouchers.
Oh yeah, that's right. I got vouchers.
Yeah, we got vouchers. So that's going to be dope. So I'll just I gotta grab a couple of things here. Let's see here.
There she is.
Hey!
Hi.
What's cracking, Melissa? What's going on?
I can't believe how much Tracy called me out. No, I'm super excited to be here. And yeah, I'm loving the session so far. So happy to join and talk to you all. I had slides prepared, but you know what? I'm sorry, you're over here on the screen and I'm trying to look at you. But I had slides prepared, but I'm like, why not just make this a conversation? So hopefully that's okay if you want to do that. I mean, most of what we're talking about is just the company and why we're here and what we do and stuff like that, where you can learn more and all that stuff. So if you want slides and you really care about slides, you can definitely let us know in the session chat, but otherwise I'm just going to talk and you can ask questions and we'll just do it. Right. So first of all, we're so excited to be here and to be a sponsor of this event. We love enabling conversations in the technical community that are authentic from people that actually use the tools. So thank you everybody for speaking and participating and engaging. I love it. We all love it. So thank you. Who is HashiCorp? Well, I guess I should probably say, who am I? So I'm Melissa Gurney-Green, and I work for HashiCorp. I am the Director of Community Development at HashiCorp, and I have the developer advocate team. I have a programs team that works on enabling the community, and I have a technical community manager team that works on the GitHub side of the house. So what we do is we like to engage the community as users of our tools and help make our tools better for the community. So what does that mean from a HashiCorp perspective? So HashiCorp is a company that focuses on multi-cloud automation. Now that's a bunch of marketing stuff, and don't tell my boss, but, but what that really means is we build cool tools for developers, operators, and administrators to have a better time doing their job, to make it easier, to make it cool, to make it fun, right? So we have a couple of sites where you can learn more. It's all free. So one of them is learn.hashicorp.com, and don't worry, I'll send you all the links in chat and tweet them as well. We also have a free conference coming up called HashiConf, where you can register. There's two versions of HashiConf. There's a European version and a global version. So whatever works for your time zone, it's completely free to join and engage, and you get talks and chat and stuff like that as well. Well, what if you already know HashiCorp? What if you want to know more about HashiCorp? What if you want a job? Well, we have amazing jobs, but let's first back up and say why work here. So my personal story, I worked in infrastructure for a very long time, and I started to get to know HashiCorp through Terraform because it started taking the parts of my job that I didn't necessarily love. So in the emergence of cloud, and this is showing my age a little bit, but I was working in the data center, building a lot of servers and storage configurations and switches and all that stuff that all looked the same. Humans are not good at this. And I am definitely not good at this, in that I created it once, I built the scripts, and would fire them off. And then I'd have to go through and spend hours like refactoring and re-editing every time a new release came out, all that stuff. It was a mess. So about 80 hours or so of every engagement I had with said company was kind of taken over by a few minutes of Terraform. And I was like, this is really cool. And I was super excited about it. And then I learned, hey, HashiCorp is the company that makes this tool. How cool would it be to like engage with the community, learn more about the people that work here, and found a job that interests me, read about the DAO and principles on the website. And I was like, if they mean this, this is super cool. So met with people in the team and the community, and really found that I was coming to HashiCorp because of the people. And I love working with people like Tracy every day. Thank you, Tracy. The people here make it awesome. The people in the community make it awesome. I can't say I've ever worked for a company that has been has had a community so engaged and so enthusiastic to work with us. So that's been something really special for me. So what I would say, if you're interested in a job at HashiCorp, we are hiring like crazy. So we have a job site that I'll link you. But first, check out the DAO and principles, see if they resonate with you, see if there's a job that interests you. If there's not one today, check back in a few weeks. There might be a new one. But in any case, like if you are interested in our tools or our technology or a job at the company, feel free to reach out to us. I'm at Solution Geek on Twitter, and the company is at HashiCorp on Twitter. And again, I can link you all this stuff. But yeah, that's it for me. Questions or comments or anything are welcome.